More mishaps for Russia. Every day they have multiple of the kabooms because Ukraine somehow uses lots of the drones and Western-made missiles to hit the Russian, first of all, oil infrastructure, as you see, successfully. This is the Russian oil storage base in Lysky town, Voronezhskaya Oblast. As locals reported and published, there were multiple of the kabooms and oil tanks went on fire. Just a random guy was driving through with his car. As you can see, oil tanks are there in the place and the smoke is coming, so drone strike was successful. And this is, by the way, the Russian air defense. As they say, Ukrainian drones are always get intercepted. Yeah, we see. About the music taste of the driver, well, that shit is after all quite popular in Russia, and not only. Not my style, but it was fun to watch. I guess it fits really. The fighters of the 12th Azov Brigade successfully captured many of the Russian soldiers in Toretsk direction. Yes, Russia advances there and they expand the gray area almost every day, but at the same time they don't care about their soldiers. They throw them away like they used contraceptives, and sometimes those soldiers are willing to surrender. Like here we have fully packed bus by the Russian mobiks, chmobiks or regular army soldiers, and they do not look like the Russian Spetsnaz or something. They went to the war because they wanted to earn millions, and now they're in captivity, but at least they're safe. So hopefully they will be exchanged for our guys from Azov. So Azov is really interested in capturing as many Russian soldiers as possible because their friends, their fellows, brothers, they are in the Russian captivity for a very, very long time. And luckily, guys, today there was the major exchange between the Ukrainian and the Russian side. So many Ukrainian prisoners of war or soldiers returned back to their homeland. Absolutely great day. I'm always happy to see those exchanges. And I just hope that they will happen more and more. And yes, many of our guys, they require some of the medical support, medical care, because in the Russian captivity, it is quite limited, or in many cases it is not provided at all. Well, unfortunately not many people were exchanged. It was the exchange 25 by 25. Oh, that is probably our favorite one. The videos which I may share only on my Telegram group. North Koreans are running through the open field. I wouldn't do it even playing the PUBG, but they're playing with their own lives. Exposed, open environment, open fields, could be minefields. Drones are flying everywhere. Ukrainian infantry pew-pew, artillery in operation, but they go. It's the Kursk Oblast, and you know guys, whatever goal there was for them, they didn't reach it. Yep, they all were zeroed, and it's the 5th major attack of North Koreans, which was filmed on video, on drone camera. Some of the crazy Russian military bloggers or pro-Russian bloggers are saying that North Korea is not there, that those guys are from Tiva, but come on, it's understandable that North Koreans are there. Ukraine already captured 2 of the North Koreans. It was confirmed, it was shown, they spoke Korean, so yeah, those are not Russians, no. And you know guys, for the Kursk region there were no updates for the 3 consecutive days. I think that the Russian army is gathering extra forces to strike Ukraine from 2 or 3 of the directions, so towards Malaya Lokna, towards this side and towards Sudzha. Well, at least they tell this information, but we don't know whether it's true or not. We'll see in the coming days. Some of the analytics say that Russia concentrated roughly 20,000 troops for this specific mission. But it's already understandable that Putin will not be able to repel Ukrainian forces from Kursk till the Trump's inauguration, which will happen just in 4 days. So the good news from Kursk that there are no any news of the map update, but nevertheless the North Korean attack was repelled successfully. My friends, by the way, if you want to support the job that I do on YouTube, you may also join me on Patreon. The link for my Patreon page I'll put in the video description just below. Thank you so much for maintaining my motivation. Is it a plane? Is it a helicopter? No, it's the Ukrainian drone which flies towards Voronezh Oblast, and by the way, not only there. Alright, kind of the important meeting today happened between Polish President Donald Tusk and Zelensky. And there Zelensky told about the number of the Ukrainian forces and the Russian forces in Ukraine. So there are 880,000 Ukrainian soldiers protecting Ukraine, and not just in the east. And Russia deployed roughly 600,000 soldiers to Ukraine, but mostly they attacked on the east. But Ukraine has to keep the major part of the forces in Sumy Oblast, in Chernigiv, in Zhytomyr, because Russia may again try to attack Ukraine from the north, from Belarus. Also, you know, Transnistria is not calm, and Ukraine also has to keep the forces there as well. Plus, many soldiers work around Ukraine to shut down the Russian missiles and drones. So actually, on the front lines, there are less troops fighting against prevailing Russian army. We don't know the figures of how many troops Ukraine deployed to the east, but it is way less than 600,000. And total Russia has, I guess, 1,200,000 soldiers, so half of their army is now fighting in Ukraine. Plus, you know, guys, both of those armies, Russian and the Ukrainian one, they all have lots of the bureaucracy in it. So there are lots of the military bureaucrats also considered as soldiers in some way. Let's listen to Marco Rubio. He is the candidate for the position of the Secretary of State of the United States, and now he's in Senate answering some of the questions. Here it is relative to Ukraine. Well, actually this video is kind of long. I will expedite it, and let's listen just for the final remark of Marco Rubio.
I saw a quote recently, and I wish I could attribute it to who it was, but the quote was, and I think it was very wise, where they said the problem that Ukraine is facing is not that they're running out of money, it's that they're running out of Ukrainians. There's a size differential here that's important. Now,
I don't agree with that. Like, first of all, it's not about the money, it's about the military support of Ukraine. So the money, some say greedy Zelensky wants to get, those are not the money, those are military support. Those funds are just invested into production of the military goods, units, munition, and Ukraine gets what it needs to defend itself. But Ukraine is not running out of Ukrainians, if we speak like that, but there are for sure less volunteers who would like to join the Ukrainian army. But it is also solvable, and later on I'm gonna show you the example of it. Just remember this part, I will tell you.
What Vladimir Putin has done is unacceptable, there's no doubt about it, but this war has to end. And I think it should be the official policy of the United States that we want to see it end. Now, what that master plan looks like is it's going to be hard work. This is not going to be an easy endeavor, but it's going to require bold diplomacy. And my hope is that it could begin with some ceasefire. And we're going to have, in order to achieve objectives like the one that needs to occur in Ukraine, it is important for everyone to be realistic. There will have to be concessions made by the Russian Federation, but also by the Ukrainians, and the United States lends itself there. It's also important that there be some balance on both sides. In essence, it will be difficult to achieve this objective of a ceasefire and ultimately a peace settlement unless both sides have leverage.
Guys, there will be no ceasefire. Putin doesn't want to stop. He understands that if it is a ceasefire, if Ukraine obtains some sort of the guarantees, like for example deployment of the peacekeepers from UK, from United States, from France, Russia would never go and attack those because it would be equal to the attack on those countries which I mentioned. So what Putin wants, I'm 100% sure about it. He wants to continue this war. He doesn't want to freeze the front line because it might stop him forever. Like, here you go. Here is your Donbass, part of it, Crimea, southern part of Ukraine. Everything is absolutely demolished. Well, except Crimea probably. Putin doesn't need Donbass. He doesn't need Crimea. He needs Ukraine. And speaking more widely, he wants to restore the Russian Empire, Soviet. That's what I tell you maybe in my every video. So what they say, like Rubio, Waltz, Trump, doesn't really matter. They don't have a plan, and they don't have a robust lever to act on Putin. Putin is already under the sanctions, but he's not isolated, you know. Trump wants to meet him, Xi Jinping wants to meet him. Yes, there are now some of the sanctions on the Russian oil, but they will figure out how to deviate from them and continue to sell their oil to China or India. Maybe you know how Trump might influence Putin, but I don't see the other lever rather than to support Ukraine with everything possible. And there's the article of Bloomberg. They say that Putin demands for Ukraine to never join NATO. And as we know, the NATO is probably the only robust security guarantee for Ukraine against Russia. Or as Zelensky said, nuclear weaponry. And also Russia demands 20% of Ukrainian territory, including unoccupied territories of Zaporizhia, Kherson, Donetsk, and so on. But again, even Marco Rubio say that there is the probability for Russia to start a new massive war in roughly 4 years. So Trump would say, then I was a president, we negotiated a peace deal, but then I left, Putin started the war again. Yeah, that is what he would say in this case, 100%. But at the same time, we see that even Trump's team is quite concerned about this possible question that Russia might reform its army, build more weaponry and attack Ukraine, learning on its old mistakes, and for the second time Russia might be successful. Zelensky also said about this scenario, and yeah, I also told you about it many times. Okay, it appeared that Russians zeroed the Australian prisoner of war who was fighting for the Ukrainian army. His name was Oscar Jenkins, and I cannot publish this video here. Russians tightened his hands and his body was shown on one of the videos, which I also cannot show you. Not just he was unalive, but many of the Ukrainian soldiers who were imprisoned. We have the report about it from CNN and other media sources, and now Australian officials are looking for the possible payback on that inhumane act. As you see, in many of the cases, Russians do not care whether it's mercenary from Australia, United States and so on, or whether it's Ukrainian. Those war crimes should be investigated, obviously prosecuted, but you know, Putin is still there. He's not paying back for his crimes. No, he feels absolutely untouchable. And hopefully, after all, Russian criminals will be punished. An interesting report from the Intelligence Online: France runs secret special forces drill in event of deployment to Ukraine. The French special forces conducted a top-secret exercise late last year in preparation of potential intervention in Ukraine. So for now, they're testing their military of whether they can be deployed to Ukraine. Maybe Macron thinks about some peacekeeping mission. The last night, Russia also launched their massive strike on Ukraine. Some of the gas infrastructure in Ukraine was damaged, but not significantly. Mostly the western side of Ukraine was hit by the cruise missiles, and 70% of those were intercepted by the air defense. My friends, the videos from the front lines I publish on my Telegram channel. You may find my Telegram group right in the video description below. So I will share this video provided by Magyar to us. This is the Russian T-72 tank covered with some extra armor, but it didn't help. One drone was enough to hit the tank from the back and stop it completely, and the other one just finished the job. There was also infantry on top of the tank, roughly 6 persons. They left the area, and later on Magyar said that there was the job for the other drone operators. So I show you some of the screenshots, but the video you will see on my Telegram. Now my friends, let's go to the front lines reviews. We have even good news. Yes, it's the single good news if we speak about the military map, but it is there. So Russia tried to go to Uspenivka and Ukraine repelled Russians from this side. Let's zoom out from the place. I'll show you yesterday, today. So Russia withdrew here, but at the same time the attack from the other side of the river. However, Uspenivka, yes, now is fully under Ukrainian control. Yeah, it's the tiny little village, but in this direction it could be important, because the rest of the small villages, well, they're really small. But in the other directions, unfortunately, Russia moves, and we have two of the main spots, critical spots for Ukraine. I'm speaking about Velika Novosilka. I guess I explained you everything about this in my previous video. So there is definitely the threat for Ukraine of being encircled. All of the supply lines were cut by Russia, so our guys should leave this settlement. Also, we have one more point. It's Dachne village, and Russia tries to go to Ulakli. The village is located here, so now they have this and this attack vector towards this road. And you know, guys, the gap here is really small. It's roughly 4.5 kilometers. So this creates a huge risk for Ukrainian armed forces who still stay in Dachne and in this area. Moreover, if you check out the 3D map, you can see that the gap here, they say that it's all the gray area near Ulakli village, so Ukraine has this tiny little gap, but it's according to the map presented to us by the Institute for the Study of War. So this amber area is the claimed territory by the Russian side. Well, this part where Russia may try to go to the south, it will not work for them because of the many of the rivers. Those are small, but still those are the war obstacles. So the only way where Russia may assault is from Zelenivka village. Here the good thing that the road from Dachne, so this road is still under Ukrainian control, so if it is needed, Ukrainian army may withdraw really fast. But in general, we see this pocket and it is not looking good for Ukraine. And if you check out the timeline, you will see that for the last 24 hours, Russia tries to lower those gaps. So again, yesterday and today in Velika Novosilka. And also in this Dachna area, Russia moved ahead yesterday and today. Probably Ukraine already withdraws the forces from this place because it's too risky to stay here. In Pokrovsk direction, Russia also moved a little. Their goal is to go here towards this road and to cut Ukrainian supplies towards Pokrovsk. So for the last 24 hours, definitely it is a significant movement. However, still they cannot reach this critical crossroad from Vozdvizhenka village. So the fight is really heavy, but the Russian forces are dispersed along the front lines in the east. But still they have three main directions for attack: Velika Novosilka, Kurakhova, Pokrovsk direction, and two secondary, Toretsk and Chasiv Yar. It's over here. So here Russia wants to go to Kramatorsk and probably Slavyansk, Konstantinovka. From Pokrovsk also they may go to the north, but they also may turn to Pavlograd. And from Velika Novosilka they will go towards Popasna direction. From Kurakhova direction it will join this attack vector. It will be one big attack vector. So Ukraine should build defense lines in Dnipropetrovsk region already. I was in Pavlograd many of the times and I used to fly in Mayske. There is the airfield. I'll show you like that so we can zoom in. This is the runway and this is the local air club. And this is the airfield from the Google images. So it has the apron, hangar, there are some of the buildings where you can live, the central office, and here is the runway. Yes, it's unpaved runway, but the ground there is really flat, so you may do the kiss landings and it's really long. So yeah, I have some of the nostalgia for this place and it's not far away from Pavlograd, as you can see. And Pavlograd, well, it could be the next aim for the Russian army if they occupy Pokrovsk. You may say it's far away, but actually not that far. Now about the lack of volunteers and the Ukrainian people and so on. On this picture you may see Kirill Veris. He is the commander of the K2 battalion. He gave some of the interviews to Ukrainian channels and to some of the YouTube channels, and he says the things as they are, concentrating also on the issues in Ukrainian army, demanding the reforms as many volunteers and many military personnel demand. So roughly 1 month ago he announced that they need people into his group, into his battalion, and guess how many people applied there with no military experience? 7,000 applied to his battalion. Why is it like that? Well, because they understand that this commander will do everything, absolutely everything, to save their lives. Yeah, there is no war without losses, but this commander you may trust. He is not sending people to the useless attacks, even though he obtains sometimes those crazy orders. But he can argue with higher managers and they really need him because his battalion is one of the most successful out there. So if there are no command issues or supplement issues in Ukrainian army, there would be many more volunteers. And this example absolutely shows us that. So 7,000 people applied, but I guess not more than 20% will be taken to this battalion, because battalion, it's not a division or the army group. No, it's the battalion. It's kind of small. All right, now to the Middle East. It seems like there's gonna be a peace negotiation around Gaza Strip. Well, actually it's already announced and Israel will gradually withdraw the forces from the Gaza Strip. The negotiations were organized by Qatari side and they also sent their representatives to Gaza Strip and they will monitor the ceasefire. By the way, Egypt will do the same stuff. I think that this deal was also supported by the White House administration. And Donald Trump already said that he'll do everything to prevent the attacks from Hamas on Israel's soil again. Well, we'll see if it works. It's not the first time Israel withdraws the forces from Gaza Strip. Relative to this topic, I don't want to share my opinion. Now, my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. As usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.